Hello all, it's Shane Hall here again. I'm the CCA agronomist for Big Yield, and again it's a privilege to be able to come to you today and to share with you some of the things that we're doing here on the farm and some of the things that that we can do, that you can do on your farm as part of your management to help boost those yields. And specifically for today, I want to talk to you a little bit about weed management and pest management as far as that goes. When we're thinking about our herbicide programs, one of the things that we often forget is what I would call the butter and the bacon to our recipes. So what I mean by that is so much of the time we concentrate on that post application and we don't think about our pre-emergent application. And I know a lot of you guys are ahead of me on this, but those pre-emergent applications are the butter and the bacon to our herbicide programs. We have to make sure that we've got those right. I know for many of you, I see a lot of folks in their programs, they're using that metolachlor as a pre-emergent herbicide. That's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But I would actually like to see those group 15s and metolachlors and those types of things used in a post application. I think that they can be very useful and can provide residual in our post program. So what do we use as pre's? Do we use one real good mode of action? That would be nice, but I'd like to see us use at least 2 and maybe even 3 modes of action in our pre-emergent herbicide programs. And we can start with a metribuzin, and I think that that's going to have really good control on some broadleaf weeds and some grasses. But also throw in a PPO into that. Throw in Authority or Valor, and I know some of you all are already using that. But see, just in that we have 2 modes of action. We have a PPO herbicide, and we have metribuzin. And that's something that's going to be very effective in our fields when it comes time to make those post-emergent applications. Now, I know that you're having trouble because I've had trouble with it myself, and others are having trouble. So we have a post-emergent plan, and then all of a sudden the rain comes and you can't get in. Those are things we can't plan for. You know, we can say, well, I don't need all those pre-emergent. I'm going to save money on the pre-emergent so that I can, and then I'll just nail it with that Liberty. My field, my weeds are responding really well to the Liberty herbicides, or my weeds are really responding well to the new chemistries that are coming out. Well, that may be true, but you can't guarantee that you're going to get into your field on time. And you can't guarantee that the weeds that are there are going to respond the way they should. So again, this is my preaching for the day, is to make sure that we've got a good pre-emergent herbicide program. Now, another thing that goes along with that, and I'll touch on this in another video, is making sure that our soils are correct. Because we think, okay, well, what does my soil quality have to do with my herbicide effectiveness or my herbicide efficacy? Well, if you think about it, all of those herbicides require a specific pH in order to be at the top of their game. And I'm sure that you don't want to. Throw good money after bad when your soil, the pH in your soil just isn't right in order to make those herbicides as effective as they can possibly be. What is your pH? What is your cation exchange capacity? What's your organic matter look like? All those things are going to be important when thinking about your herbicide program. Thinking about tillage in your herbicide program. When are you doing it? And so all of those things are important. All of those things matter when it comes to making sure that we've got clean fields throughout the season. Weeds can rob us of our yield. We know that. And so if you've had trouble with that, make sure that you've got a good, strong weed program, weed control program going into 2021. Now, some of you may know I'm not a big proponent of preventative spraying when it comes to insects. I think that can, maybe at times that can work, but I think you have to be able to tell the future in order for it to do any good. And there'll be one exception to that I'll mention in just a moment. But preventative spraying is going to, at the very least, that's going to harm our beneficial insect population. And we don't want to do that because our ladybugs, for example, are going to do a number on the aphids that may be robbing us of yield. So that's just one example. So we have to make sure that, that again, we've got a proactive, but not necessarily that we're spraying preventatively. Now, I said that there would be an exception to that preventative spraying, but it's really not an exception because we're looking for insects before we spray. We want to make sure that we've got an issue before we go about A, spending money on an insecticide, and B, exposing our field and exposing the area and our beneficial insects to those herbicides, or to those insecticides. So one exception would be is this year I'm going to do a lot more of it, and I've done it in the past, is set out pheromone traps and set out traps in order to catch moths. And what that's going to do is that's going to tell me what type of population we're going to have with the larvae, with the worms such as corn borer and such as the earworm. We can also do that with army worms and fall army worms and all those types of things that give us an idea of what type of populations we're going to have in the future. Catch the moths and try to find out, well, what type of feeding is going to occur on our plants. So in doing that, when we know, we can spray and we can be preventative in that way as well. So again, there's a good way to be proactive in that arena as well. So as far as weed management and pest management are concerned, the important thing is to make a plan. Have a plan, know what we're going into, and that plan could be different for every field. You could have a field that you just don't have a lot of problem with resistant weeds, and if that's the case, maybe you're able to go with just one pre-emergent herbicide because you know you've got a good post program coming up. But if that's not the case, then for every field, and you've got a field that's always been a problem, then we have to be a little more proactive. You may have to spend a few more dollars on the front end so that you're saving yield and that you're making more money on the back end. You may have to go with a couple of pre-emergent herbicides. If you've got a field that you know you're going with in conventional corn and you know that you've had issues with worms in that corn before and they've cost you yield, then you got to be proactive and make a plan and know that that may be coming. So I hope this was a helpful video to you. If you have any questions, you feel free to give me a call. Again, my name is Shane, and I look forward to talking to you soon.